is up, everybody, and welcome to a very special production. You could say exclusive of 20,000 Films Under the Sea.
Exclusive.
This is our very first Patreon exclusive, technically, piece of content that we're doing for our supporters out there and for our early access folks and whatnot. You guys have access to this if you are above the guppy tier on our Patreon. And today, what we wanted to do, as you can probably see in like the notations and thumbnails and stuff like that, we decided that it would probably be a good idea, as very big Marvel fans, for us to go in and do a spoiler cast for the brand new Marvel Studios Thunderbolts asterisk. Uh, and yeah, we wanted to come in here and have that conversation. So for any of you folks at home, this is going to be 100% spoilers. We're not, doing any bars held back here. We are just going in on our thoughts as a whole on this movie. So if you have not seen it yet, go watch the movie. First off, it's fucking phenomenal. And watch our review of the movie if you need leverage to go do that. At this point,
Spoilers, we gave it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, exactly. If you
Yeah, there you go.
if you're on Patreon or if you have early access to this, you might have already seen our review of it. That is spoiler free. But for this, we don't want to fuck things up for you. This will be here available for you to watch later on. So go see the movie and then come back and you can join us in this conversation here. So, gentlemen, what we're wanting to do is talk about Thunderbolts, and we sort of talked it over before recording here. We want to go into doing it beat for beat, also like the major beats of this movie. So I think we can just kind of jump into the fray here, boys. So to start off on the movie here, Thunderbolts, we have firstly the big opening title screen that starts with Marvel's music kicking in, and suddenly it starts to drown out to a faded dark gray version of the Marvel Studios logo. And that was heart dropping.
Way to set the tone, right?
Dude,
Like,
yeah.
and
It's
then
funny because like at the time,
The music,
at the time that
quiet.
happened, yeah, it was the music was drowning out. It was almost sounding as if it was coming from like another room in my
Yeah,
movie
dude.
theater. And at that moment,
Mhm.
I was texting Garrett because I had just gotten back to my seat. I was like, oh shit, the logo. And because like I had just texted him, I was like, all right, the movie's starting. I'll catch you afterwards. And then immediately after I sent him that, I saw the Marvel logo do that shit, and I was like, oh fuck, the logo. I'm like, never mind. I'm not gonna say anything more.
Yeah, dude.
I'm
No,
just gonna wait until you see it.
it was crazy. It was crazy how they use that kind of Finnick with
They
voids
also
abilities and stuff.
Also, I don't know if you noticed too, the comic pages that they normally have flipping through, it switched to being only Century comics,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was really cool. And not just Robert Reynolds either. It wasn't just
Dude,
Robert Reynolds,
yeah.
it was the other iterations too.
Dude, I was so fucking stoked on that because, like I was saying, I definitely came at this film with like a bias in mind because, like, I am a fan, like a legit fan of the Sentry. Like, he is one of my favorite fucking heroes in Marvel, and like, I was mentioned that like one of my favorite content creators on YouTube and TikTok that does like Marvel superhero content. Shout out to Sir Superhero, you're a pretty awesome dude. I love your shit. And he was just like, dude, he was like, Century fans rejoice because Marvel literally got this one right. Like, I couldn't think of, and I wholeheartedly agree. Like, they couldn't have got that character more perfect.
Yeah, dude.
Dude, Sentry is freaking wild, and I loved how powerful they showed him. And the thing is, that was very minuscule for what he can
fraction.
do. Yeah. Which we're gonna get more into this conversation a little bit later on because I actually have a whole prediction moving forward with the way that they link this movie to the next movie and so on after that. But once we get to the end of this synopsis and get through the movie, I'll spill the beans on where my tinfoil hat's sitting.
Sure, absolutely, sir. Well, as we come out of the title screen, we get a very, very wonderful close-up shot of Florence Pugh a la Yelena Belova. Looks delicious. As she is standing on top of the second tallest building in the world in Malaysia.
Yes.
Yeah,
this
Kuala Lumpur.
and is leaping off to get to a lower level of the building, where she is destroying a laboratory on behalf of the CEI director, Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, to conceal her involvement in the Ox Group's Century Superhuman project. She goes in, beats some people's asses, actually beats a lot of people's asses. We get a super sick sort of John Wick-esque scene, hallway scene, if you will.
Yeah.
Overshot of her just whooping everyone's asses in a row. Very good camera work there. And we sort of find out a little bit through the laboratory work and conversations and stuff that this is directly with involved with Ox. And as she leaves, has a very funny scene of her saying the mission's complete. Wait, hold on. Turns around and the building explodes, and she's like, "Okay, the mission's complete."
Yeah.
And
she saved the guinea pig. She saved the guinea pig.
She saved the guinea pig, yeah, very much so, and thank God for that.
Cute.
Thank God for that.
And
we start kind of having the movie sort of piece together, sort of like what the scope is of all this, and so Fontaine is sort of facing an imminent impeachment for her work with Ox Group, and she has now sort of dispatched Yelena, John Walker, Ghost, and Taskmaster to a covert Ox facility, that she has moved all of her evidence of her involvement in Ox to for destruction, including Ox
the agents,
recon agents. And we have this fucking hilarious scene of them trying to piece together who is after who and like why this is happening as it's all sort of unfolding. And then we get the reason for why the asterisk is no longer 6-star, like a 6-star shape, and is now only 5, as Ghost puts a bullet right between the eyes of fucking Taskmaster. So that's probably a good
start that.
Yeah, that's probably a good place for us to
part 3 here. Can we talk about how sick that fight scene actually was, and how Taskmaster was actually done justice, like fight wise? And you see Taskmaster actually switch between, doing Hawkeye, Captain America, and Black Widow style stances, and even there was actually 2 Hawkeye forms. There was the Ronin as well.
Yeah, right, with the sword fighting.
And
I think
like that.
I think there's a really cool conversation to have here too, because the question really is, did they do this because of the audience's grievances with this Taskmaster? Xander.
So this is where what I was kind of getting at last night with what I had mentioned with Taskmaster in my review, was that I think this felt to me like whoever wrote this portion and was like, okay, Taskmaster's got to go. The way that they went about it, it felt as though that they have heard our grievances with Taskmaster. And I feel like they're like, okay, this is a good way to kind of like give one last little hurrah to the character of Taskmaster that we have right now, kind of show this character in a decent light for what it is, and then away with you. We can do away with you. And I think this also opens up a great opportunity for them to, like, this was my idea ever since I saw Black Widow, and Kevin Feige, if you're listening to this, which I'm sure you're not, yeah, I swear to you, it would be so perfect to have it so that like Tony Masters, the real Taskmaster, was like an old colleague of Dreykov at one point, and Dreykov got the idea of the Taskmaster project from Tony Masters and then implemented it into the suit for his daughter or whatever. And Tony Masters catches wind of this at some point and is like, oh shit, I gotta redeem my name or some shit like that, because he was like the original Taskmaster or some shit like that. Like, I feel like they could kind of like take that and run with it and like give us the Taskmaster that we deserve. But that's just, that's just a little thing. But I really do truly believe that the way that they went about getting rid of Taskmaster in this film was simply because they're like, okay, we get it, we heard you, we understand that we Marvel had messed up with this character, and we just need to be done with it.
Now, Garrick, if I remember correctly, you actually kind of liked this Taskmaster, if I remember right. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, fucking absolutely hated it. I hated this version.
Okay.
Like, I was definitely in the camp of like, this was not Taskmaster, and they just, This version of Taskmaster could have been an entirely new character and probably would have functioned better than being who they were labeled as Taskmaster.
Sure.
I was actually, I'm not gonna lie. When she got shot in the head, I was just like, about fucking time. I was just like,
yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean,
because
agree.
I didn't feel like they did a service to the character. Now, I do feel like a character was likely going to die. Even the directors kind of said that if we did this, it would set the precedence for that anything would be possible stakes wise for the rest of the movie. If they're not unafraid of killing a character, like killing a character in the first act, and again, this is a fucking comic book film. They can always come back, folks.
Yeah.
But as of right now, Taskmaster is fucking dead. And incinerated, so maybe not coming back.
Yeah, maybe not coming back. That Taskmaster, right? There could theoretically be, I guess, first tinfoil hat here. There could theoretically be another Taskmaster that like was already present, you know, in the same way that like the Red Room had it, right? There could have potentially be another thing. I don't know if they'll do that. They might probably just say like,
yeah, it could just be like a title and not necessarily an individual. But
Right,
you know,
right.
again, that's not necessarily in line with what that character was doing. And I think it was a nice correction for me because they took all of the other characters with such earnest and really like gave them their own unique identity. And again, like they adapted the Sentry as a character so honestly that I think it was just like, we're going to get rid of like the most dishonest adaptation currently here, and roll into one of our most honest adaptations we've ever had.
Yep. Agreed, man. Agreed. Yeah, it could be interesting. It could be interesting. In the midst of their sort of fighting each other and trying to figure this out, they meet the mysterious man named Bob, who unexpectedly appeared in the midst of this room, not knowing why, can't remembering anything. We have a very hilarious scene between conversations of them and Bob, who does not know how the fuck he got in there, very much bothering John Walker. That he did not know how he got there. But upon learning that they were sent by Dave Fontaine to be incinerated along with all the evidence of her misconduct, they end up managing to escape from this trap.
You got her name right.
Yeah, I know, Dave
Fontaine.
Fontaine.
He's the security of defense, not the security of fence.
It was so fucking
Julia
funny.
Louis-Dreyfus like ate that shit up though. Like,
Dude,
her portrayal was so good.
And can we also talk about too how like I don't know what it is, but she aged like fine wine coming off Seinfeld. What the fuck, dude? She looks great.
I'm not gonna lie. Even though she was a really strong antagonistic force, I had a really fucking hard time disliking her character.
Yeah,
Dude,
I
like
she was just
she
so good.
she had some dude, her on-screen presence was really strong, and like despite the fact that she was absolutely crooked as fuck, she had some charisma about her that just made it work.
Also,
I'm
like,
I think that's just her. I really think that's just her.
Devin, let's go to you.
Also, like, pretty much all these characters in these movies, minus like Red Guardian, but all of these characters were heavily disliked at one point.
Yeah,
every single one.
Yeah,
and I mean, and Winter Soldier too. Like, so those two characters, I feel like were always like loved.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Did you know? You know what I mean? Like, someone didn't like him. Someone didn't like him. But no, I get your point though, right?
Yeah, like all of these are, you know, characters that were disliked, that this is their strongest writing for the most part. Like, it really is.
Yeah.
And I like that the writing was so consistent between all of those characters too.
To make them likable. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Dave Fontaine learns that the group has actually survived, including Bob, who was presumed to be dead during the Sentry trials. And when she arrives on site, and the team has escaped doing a crazy tunnel crawl upwards into the ceiling of the facility, Bob creates a diversion by drawing enemy fire without sustaining any injury. allowing Belova, Walker, and Ghost to escape. That scene of the guy when they're in that Humvee and the guy's like, identify yourself, and John Walker's like, no, and Elena was like, oh great.
Dude, I think that was the moment where I was like, I like Ghost, I like Ava, because like immediately, like, and it was like the chemistry between them was perfect, because like it was like just like it was like like us, like if we were in like some like heist situation,
like, oh Jesus
like
Christ,
like
why do
she's
you
just
think
like,
all
oh
this-
god, here we go, like fuck.
Yeah.
Oh god, it was so good.
The banter of like making fun of U.S. Agent John Walker the whole movie
So
was
fucking good,
so
dude.
good.
So
Yeah, dude,
Oh,
he
dude, yeah.
was the butt of everybody's jokes for sure. He kept catching strays.
discount Captain
how's that-
America. Holy shit, dude. Like,
Yeah. That you like that hat? You like? Yeah, I like the helmet. Yeah, I like it. It's cool.
Do you like it? Do you like it? Oh, okay, yeah.
If
Well,
you like it,
that's all that matters.
if you like it, then that's all that matters. Then Bob then ascends into the air before crash landing at the compound, where he is then captured and transported to the former Avengers Tower in New York City, now renamed the Watchtower, and that was fucking nuts. Seeing that's kind of where the Avengers Tower has moved over to.
That was the big reveal.
Purnell audibly was like, "What the hell?" And like, but we all, because we knew that was happening though. Like we knew that was happening.
It was the first Spider-Man film where they had sold Avengers Tower, right?
Off, yeah.
So, so for how long was that we just didn't know who bought it?
Well, exactly, and that's more so where I was like, "What the fuck?" Because like I know that like Avengers Tower pretty much effectively becomes the Watchtower, but it was crazy to me because like that sort of like solidified this this sort of, because we've had a lot of movies so far that have had this like conversation around like, where are the Avengers? Right? Where are they? They're gone, right? They're out doing, space shit now, as they say in the end credits of this movie. And there's
a space crisis.
There's a space crisis. The space in this room
already? I think it's huge. Anyway,
this sort of solidified it for me as like, wow, they really are like gone. Like nobody really fucking knows at all where these guys are. And it was kind of cool to see them sort of like act on that. Because we've had tons of questions of like, how have we had this entire massive being fall into the Indian Ocean? How we had like entire like places around the world fucking explode? There's been all sorts of shit in a number of different movies that we're just like, where the fuck why haven't they answered any of this, dude? And it's because they're gone. They're fucking gone. Like, go ahead.
I mean, we have a convicted criminal as an elected political figure now, like Wilson Fisk, not Donald Trump.
Right.
But
I mean,
but it's all because the Avengers were gone. But no, what I was actually gonna say was, so 2017 was when Spider-Man: Homecoming came out. So technically, they always typically run one or two ahead of present day.
Well, and then there was
years.
technically the 5-year gap
Endgame,
because of the snap.
Yeah,
right?
they're pretty far ahead now.
Yeah, and Endgame was based in 2025.
Right, because of the snapping.
Currently,
stuff, right?
we're looking at 2027, right?
Yes,
technically, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Regardless, it's been, just as a viewer, it's been a long ass. It's been since 2017 since the first question was, who
2019
bought Avengers Tower.
2019 in the MCU, or 2020 or whatever.
Well, he needs
ago.
us as the audience, though, right?
Yeah,
it's been
audience,
it's been 8 years since we first got the first inkling as the audience that Avengers Tower no longer exists as the Avengers Tower, right? And so like there's a lot of questions there, and so it was kind of cool to just like get that confirmation, generally speaking. We also, in between some of this, had a scene between Yelena and Alexei Shostakov, a la Red Guardian, on how his life has been. Very funny scene where she's like, I thought you were enjoying your life, and he's like, look at me, Yelena. I have nothing.
I'm miserable.
I'm miserable here. Trying to get Dafon Fontaine's
Stark
contact
contrast
information.
to his so full, so filled.
Oh my god.
So filled.
That line had me cracking up,
Do you
dude. That
feel
line was so
fulfilled?
fucking funny.
I
So
told you
full,
leave
so
that
filled.
door.
Yeah.
I told you leave that door.
But
You'll be getting response from
as we
DoorDash
have
HQ.
the confrontation with Bob, Alexei has overheard details of DeFontaine's plan while working as a freelance chauffeur for her, comes to the rescue of Yelena Walker and Ghost, being inspired by by Yelena's childhood soccer team. Shostakov dubs the group the Thunderbolts. With all the advertising along with it. Shane's wheels.
We're beyond Wheaties books. Oh,
It was funny how that kind of came about too, because I think it was Ava who first like said it like jokingly, like oh yeah, here comes the Thunderbolts or something like that, because Yelena had said like they were
It was
sharing
John.
like
It was
pointless
John.
backstories.
Yeah, it was
yeah,
John, because he
yeah.
said it like sarcastically, and Red
Yeah.
Guardian was like, "Oh,"
Mhm.
and leaned into it, dude. That was a good
ran with it.
good moment, man. The Thunderbolts are pursued by DeFontaine's agents in a very cool fucking driving chase scene.
That goddamn chase scene was so fucking sick.
It was so good, dude. To which is ultimately apprehended by Bucky Barnes, doing one of the coolest things
Congressman.
Bucky Barnes has ever fucking done. Devin.
that is one of my favorite Bucky moments in the entirety of the MCU.
It was so
Big
good.
fucking same. I was shouting that at the rooftops yesterday when we did the review. That fucking rap, when he raps his fucking fist and slams, because that shit was so extra. He did not need to do that to accomplish his mission at all. He
was so
said,
good.
I'm going to prove a motherfucking point. They're still driving, by the way, and he's like, you goddamn sons of bitches. Dude, it was so satisfying.
Well, and the sound
dude.
design in that moment was so good too, because if you guys remember,
You heard his arm charge up?
There was like the charge of them, like the like of the rope like coming to a snap to stop the vehicle. Oh my god, that moment was fucking 10 out of 10 Marvel moment, bro. It was so sick.
Absolutely.
So good.
And like I always forget how much I love Bucky as a character, because he's been in so much of the MCU at this point now.
Other than Loki, he's like the only one that's been throughout this.
He gets around.
Run since phase 1.
Yeah,
since phase 1.
Yeah. They
No,
Anthony.
he's in phase 2. He's in phase 2.
Well, no.
He was in the first Captain America.
What they're saying is that
that's
Loki,
phase 2. That's after. Oh no, he is in Captain America. Yeah, I'm gonna shut up.
Yeah, the first Avenger. Bucky, Falcon, well, Captain America, and Loki, I think, are now the only ones left that are still actively doing content that have been around the longest.
Thor.
Well, yeah, but
Thor.
we haven't had Thor content.
He's MIA right now in the MCU.
Yeah,
He's
and
fucked off into outer space, brother.
He was in phase 5 though. He was in phase 5.
Yeah, I suppose you could say that too. Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah. So I mean, we're real down, real
and
tight.
He's in Doomsday. Like we literally just we saw the chairs, and we also just saw a picture of him with like Robert Downey Jr. and a few other of the cast where they saw a screening of Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like we still have some continuity of some original characters. But what I was trying to get at is like, I loved how much Bucky we get in this movie. And like, I hope they utilize. In my perfect world, I hope he gets the shield at some point.
I see you, Garrick.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to comment on something relating to Bucky's character just throughout the whole movie. So in the comics, modern comics, right now, Bucky is no longer the Winter Soldier. He denounces that name. And I don't know if you noticed, he does every motherfucking time he gets called that shit, he does not acknowledge. The first time he acknowledges the group was when they actually called him Congressman Barnes.
Yeah. Yeah.
He does not like He does not like the content. He doesn't like
That's
the Winter
all
Soldier.
good. Yeah, I
He
mean,
does
I
not
wouldn't
like
either,
that.
right?
And dude, I'm waiting for it. I know people are mixed on the name, but I like what it means for the evolution of the character. And if
White
he ends
Wolf?
up getting renamed Revolution, I'll be stoked.
Oh, Revolution.
Yeah, because that's what he
yeah,
turns
Revolution
into.
is
his
his
Yeah.
new name.
Yeah, his new name is Revolution in the comics.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that they can do with that, man. I think that they're leading into it really well. If I remember correctly, don't they some of them mention that he's no longer congressman by the end of this movie?
Basically, the second
Yeah.
he went rogue, he fucked
Gave
up.
up the
Yeah,
congressman. Sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
because when they reach the penthouse, which we'll get there here in a second, but when they reach the
Half a
penthouse, Valentina says that only half a term.
Yeah. That's what it was.
I
What I was
mean-
thinking of. Yeah. So yeah, he definitely gave that up pretty quick.
I want to pitch to Marvel to bring back the one shots for a second because I really wanted to
Yes,
get.
I was gonna say I want to see a one shot of his half a term.
Yeah. Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
I want to see a one shot of his campaign. I want to
Like a
how he won that
montage
election.
sort of
He gets
thing.
into office.
Yeah, like I mean, he ran for Brooklyn, but like the biggest thing to me too, like from a political standpoint, is so he's involved in New York politics. Does he have any does he know about Wilson Fisk? Does he know what's going on in Hell's Kitchen?
I mean, maybe it's hard to say.
That's where I'm like, ooh,
because they
could
also
be
mentioned
interesting.
too, like in Daredevil Born Again, how like the from the political levels above Wilson Fisk, they don't really care about the ground level politics of like the city politics, right? And that's why what's her face, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, was explained that like once you get to those leagues, it's very different because they don't care about this stuff. You don't want to go there, right? And so there's an argument to be had that like Bucky maybe knows, but like there's a whole country at hand in which he has to care about. So
Which is why we have those ground level superheroes, right? Like there's like the different tier of super and kind of how they engage with various problems in the world. Like some people do continental threats, some people do global threats, some do fucking cosmic threats, right? Every superhero kind of has their role in like the grand scheme of like protecting what they choose to protect.
Devin.
Actually, what I was gonna bring up, it goes along with another part of the movie, so I'm gonna wait till we get there.
Sweet. Well, Bucky Barnes, who was ultimately apprehending the group intending to have them testify in the impeachment proceedings of Dave Fontaine, gets them together and chains them up and wraps them up in a fucking hilarious scene. Upon learning that Bob was the subject of one of Dave Fontaine's top secret experiments, and Barnes has this back and forth of like the Bob.
They're like, yes, that's what we're trying to fucking tell you. It's Bob.
Stop saying Bob. Stop. Barnes joins forces with the group to head to New York to do an infiltration on the Watchtower. Devin.
Funny thing is, the actor who plays Sentry, he tried to get the name Bob changed
Lewis
because
Pullman.
he thought it was, he thought it was too simple and too like regular,
Too similar to his it was too similar to his previous role in Top Gun.
Yeah,
and the director, Jake, he just looked at him. He's like, "But it's in the comics." Is what he said. Like,
yes,
yeah, it's actually his. Yeah, thank you, Jake, because that's like a beautiful simplicity. Like Bob is not supposed to be a remarkable man. Bob is not. That's why he becomes the Sentry.
Right.
Yeah.
And they play into that very well. And I like that they kind of like make the Bob thing a like additional piece to the comedy there, because I think
It's like a gag.
The self-awareness that Bob is a simple name is definitely in this movie. The Thunderbolts do their infiltration at the Watchtower and discover that Dave Fontaine has turned Bob into an immensely powerful superhuman known as the Sentry, who easily overpowers the team and forces them to retreat. Let's talk about that for a moment. Xander.
So their entry into the Watchtower was probably one of my favorite
What's your plan?
moments
The
personally.
plan. The plan.
No, but even before that, like the exchange between Red Guardian and Bucky, which like I genuinely feel like this movie was supposed to come out before this most recent season of What If, because of that episode of What If that had Bucky and Red Guardian doing like a buddy cop thing. Like I really loved their on-screen chemistry together, and unfortunately I wish there was more of that, because that whole thing like you and me are very similar.
We are the same.
What formula did you get? I was like, I don't know, Hydra. He's like, oh, Hydra. I got the basically the bargain brand Soviet one.
Yeah,
but
when he's
still good.
When he's like Hydra, very potent.
Yeah. But then and then that whole part where he's just like, so what is your plan? He's like, plan? And then he just fucking full
plan.
The
plan. Yeah, the plan.
Yeah. He just full on Winter Soldiers it. But I was talking with Sean, Mott, Metalcore Nerds, in a little exchange on Facebook, and we were kind of just going on our back and forth on what we liked about the movie. And I really, really like Red Guardian and Winter Soldier together. Like, those two characters I need to see more of. Like, I want more interaction of them, because you can tell that Sebastian Stan and David Harbour love playing those characters. Like, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And it shines, and like their chemistry together, not only just as the Red Guardian, Winter Soldier, but just as actors, as people, is just like top tier. And I need Marvel to take advantage of that. Like maybe give us a Red Guardian and Revolution show or something.
Well, and I mean,
a special.
The Adventures of Revolution in Red.
They kind of explain why that would be good in the movie, right? Because like they're both effectively the same person. They have the same experiences. They had the same things that happened to them. The only difference is they both had different paths that they walked on through that same experience, right? And that was kind of the point that Red Guardian was making. Like, we're not that different. We are the same because we both have gone through that thing. Not realizing that Bucky had the worst end of the stick on that, because Red Guardian went and ended up being a hero and Bucky ended up being the Winter Soldier. Very interesting dynamics that could make really great content there.
He was only maybe like 2 words away from literally just saying same but different. Like,
right.
He was like right there, dude.
So give me a special presentation. Like, that's it, like a 1 hour one-off.
That'd be good. It'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be super. I would watch that.
I want to also have us talk about this introduction to Sentry as Sentry. We have this sort of standoff in the suite there that is our very first in a long time having a character that is terrifying, right? Because the last time that we had somebody feel like this was the introduction to Thanos in Infinity War, when he comes and whoops the Hulk's ass, right? And this was the first time since then that we were like, oh, fuck, right? Like, this is our antagonist of this movie. And he wipes the floor with all these guys. And
beats the brakes off them.
Beats the absolute. And now, granted, that it was cool to see this dynamic, because we really got to see how grounded Thunderbolts is, right? Like, they don't really have powers outside of like super strength, and like Ghost's like sort of able to sort of move between atoms and stuff. This was effectively Superman versus like Daredevil. You know what I mean? Like, it was this like crazy conundrum there. Did you guys feel that this, like, that you were satisfied in seeing Sentry's powers and being presented this way, Garrick?
Like, yeah. Like, can I start, please? Yes, yeah. I was immensely satisfied. Like I said, like, they didn't use a ton of CGI because of their super grounded nature of this film, and I really liked how this played out. He, like, when he became the Sentry, his persona changed, his like on-screen aura physically changed. He became immensely menacing, but not necessarily in that all-powerful Thanos kind of way. It was just like he was menacing in the, I can see I don't know how strong you are, but you're also a little fucking cracked, and I don't know what's gonna happen next. And And it really lent to like this very palpable tension for everybody on screen, because like I think they all knew that like he could probably kill us at any goddamn moment. And I said, like, when I said it on the spoiler free, is like this was one of my favorite scenes in the movie, because it felt so much more like an episode of The Boys or Invincible than it did a piece of Marvel content. Like, they really stepped up the fact that, like, you guys are just goddamn people, and I'm basically a fucking god. You're not a threat to me. The only reason I'm choosing not to kill you is because I'm being nice and benevolent.
Well, and they show that too in that moment where he throws Red Guardian out the window. He could have just dropped his ass,
dropped him,
but
and it would have been done.
He was going to. I thought he was going to for a hot second. I was like, dude.
Oh yeah, I was because of how they killed Taskmaster. I was just like, oh fuck, are we gonna get a second death? Holy shit. I mean, they didn't, but like that, the way they set that up in the first act, you didn't know who was on or off the table.
Devin,
was anybody scared for Bucky in that moment?
I certainly fucking was. He took off his fucking jacket and I got pumped in. I was like, oh fuck, he's about to get knocked, dude. Like I really thought that was it, brother.
And the way that he tried like stabbing him with the knife and stuff, and like you see the aura that he has, and you see the knife melting before it connects. I don't know if anybody else noticed that.
Because what Sentry does is he literally moves his entire molecules 1 second ahead in the future, always. So literally he's just creating super friction every time he just exists. So shit can't touch him. And it's like
the power of like 10,000 suns or something like that. Right?
Yeah, the power of 10,000 exploding suns.
Yeah, like he's fucking wildly powerful. Like
he contains a supernova inside his body, essentially.
Crazy shit, dude. And I think that they definitely handled that very well. Devin, do you want to continue your thought?
But yeah, no, when Bucky was going at it and he was just punching the shit out of him, and you don't see Sentry moving at all. And Bucky is known as like the strongest super soldier, right? Mm-hmm. Like he's
on the
he's
physical
end,
yes.
Yeah. He's known as the strongest one. And, we see it a lot of times. I mean, the fact that he just grabs a rope and flips a car, the van that's rolling and he just gets right in front of it and it just boom. Civil War, the way that he just like would, take one shield and throw like 10 dudes, or like him jumping and like grappling off buildings and stuff like that. We've seen him do a lot of crazy shit. I thought he was going to die.
Yeah,
right,
I thought this was it, brother. I really did.
I thought that we were just going to straight up see Sentry just put his fist straight through him. Like, I thought we were going to have a moment like that. Like 100%.
Oh man, that would have.
And I thought he was going to kill him when he ripped his arm off.
Yeah, that's what I did. Like straight up put his own, like stab him with his own arm, like pull a Thanos Iron Man type of moment. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I thought that was going to happen. But yeah, no, Sentry is wild, and once we get to the end of this, I have some thoughts that I need to share with you guys.
We'll get there. Xander, your hand was up for a moment, I believe.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to kind of like add on. Like this really solidifies the whole like dynamic between. It's almost kind of like a Moon Knight scenario in a way, because like you have the Bob persona, you have the Sentry persona, and then here in a little bit we'll have the Void persona. And it's really interesting how when he's donning the Sentry suit, you kind of don't see Bob anymore in a way, because because of this whole like false narrative that DeFontaine has been feeding him this entire time. It's been morphing this idealized version of what and who the Sentry is, and that's where as this plays out, you kind of see him trying to make his own decisions now, and it kind of turns on DeFontaine here in a little bit.
Well, and I remember like Mel, she's sort of mentioning all the things that could like potentially go wrong with this because of this guy's past life. Like she mentions like he was a meth addict. Yeah. He has bipolar disorder. He has delusions of grandeur. Like there's all sorts of things. And Dave Fontaine sort of thinks that she can utilize that as a tool. And it obviously, as we're about to talk about, backfires on her. But
it's almost like like when Kamala Harris warned us what would happen if Donald Trump was elected as
Yeah,
president.
it's almost like that.
You know, it's almost like it's almost
yeah.
like when people who are paying attention to the red flags are like calling out the red flags, like, listen, this could happen if you continue to get down this path, and then you continue down that path.
You would think,
you know,
like Mal said, you know, if you give a guy like Captain America a super soldier serum, he becomes a hero. You give a guy like this a super soldier serum, and who knows what he becomes.
And that is
become
exactly what happens. The team retreats, goes downstairs, and has a very unfortunate fight that leads to a incredibly heartfelt scene between Red Guardian and Yelena, in which they both now finally confront their feelings since the passing of Black Widow, and how they have been handling that, in which they have not been. They have not been handling that at all. Very quickly, Devin, go ahead.
I just want to give credit where credit's due to Marvel. They have done so well with the theme of grief.
Yeah.
In like post Endgame. And I feel like, granted, we've been multiverse saga, I feel like the theme has been grief, and depression and loneliness, and that's what a lot of people are trying to overcome.
Yeah, and as we kind of like go into this post Endgame world and how people have been handling that, there's a lot to be grieved, and we see that here in this conversation of Red Guardian and Yelena both kind of very much struggling to handle Red Guardian losing a daughter and Yelena losing a sister, because she sort of defined their lives for them, and it was very, very nice to have that, because in a movie that was arguably a comedy, they finally allowed this to be sort of the heartfelt step in the direction of what would be even more heartfelt here in a bit. The team has their argument. Yelena and Red Guardian speak, and then Sentry develops this sort of godlike delusion of superiority and turns on Dave Fontaine with, and I quote, if the Avengers are like gods and they had a literal god and I'm stronger than them, what does that make me, right? Garrett.
And you might ask yourself, is this guy that unstable to make these switches that quick? And the answer is unequivocally yes.
Yes, absolutely.
He's not well.
Yeah, he's not. Case in point to Mel. He turns on Dave Fontaine, damn near killing her before Mel is able to hit the kill switch on Sentry, which unfortunately does not do what they think it does. Instead, it triggers the emergence of Sentry's destructive alter ego, the Void, who now begins turning everyone in his vicinity into shadows and engulfs New York in a supernatural darkness. And we see chaos unfold between the building structure coming down, people in helicopters turning into dust, a innocent little girl getting shadowed, if you will.
I wanted to scream at the top of my lungs when that happened in the movie theater, so just to set the scene for everyone, you have Void that's already taken out some of these guys that are coming after him, just straight up disappearing them in Hiroshima fashion, and because of this, helicopters are slamming into buildings, and pieces of the building are falling down. Red Guardian sees this giant piece of the building falling down towards this little girl, and he rushes to save the little girl, and he does so successfully. And it's a very heartfelt moment right there, because we just had this conversation.
He lost his little girl,
Red Guardian and Yelena, where he lost his little girl, so it was kind of like a redemption thing, so to speak. And then all of a sudden, she just disappears right before our eyes, just like that. I was like, oh my god,
Devin.
Ernell violently moved, jumped and grabbed my leg when
I told you guys, dude. I told you guys
last night, dude.
I absolutely got audible in the theater. I'm really glad I was sitting all the way on the end by myself, because I went out loud. I was like, oh, that was fucking dirty.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah, dude.
Dude,
I was like, what the fuck?
So what I love about our theater that we go to is opening night, like our actual Marvel fans. And when things happen in movies, the whole theater reacts and our whole theater react. Everybody's like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah, dude, and it was fun. It made for a good moment because like I could, even though I like went and grabbed Devin, like we both were like, oh shit, like when that part happens, we were like, I never thought Marvel would have the balls to off a little fucking girl in one of their fucking movies, even in this way, dude.
Ejectocito to little kid on screen.
Oh my god, man. Yeah, that was a fucking moment. But in the midst of all this sort of unfolding within New York City, knowing the only way to stop Void is from within, Yelena decides to willingly enter this sort of shadow realm in order to reach Bob's subconscious, in which there she now faces her own sort of haunted past as a Black Widow, and is able to find Bob hiding in the mental construct of his childhood bedroom. And as this is sort of happening, we have the rest of the Thunderbolts are discussing, well, if she went in on purpose, there must be a reason for that, right? And Ghost was like, well, she did that on purpose. And John was like, well, when he touched me earlier, I also had this moment. And they were like, well, what was this moment, right? And then we move back to Yelena being with Bob in one of, I think, the most incredible scenes that Marvel has ever done. This sort of unfolding of a character that is absolutely distraught internally. And we have this scene of them introducing the abuse that he experienced. And I mentioned it last night in our review. And Garrick, I'll get to you just a second, brother. We mentioned it in the review last night that there's that moment where he says, like, most days it feels like nothing matters, but sometimes no, he says most days I feel like I'm flying, I feel like everything is great, and then other days it feels like nothing matters at all. And that was such a heavy scene for me, and I'm sure for all of us struggling with some form of mental illness or depression or anything like that, that they worded and phrased and personified that in not just Bob, but like the Void and the Sentry in such a way that was so creative. And I felt that they handled this sort of bipolar thing with him very creatively, but having him say it outright in a way that the characters never say that in these movies was incredible. Garrick and then Devin.
Yeah. Can we just appreciate that the way that scene played out when when John was like, "Oh yeah, I also had, and I went someplace I can't explain," and then they didn't explain it. They just actually transitioned us back to the fucking place and showed us. We didn't get a goddamn 2-minute John Walker exposition about what the Void was via his perception. Thank you, because we don't need that as an audience, because we're literally fucking there. We're seeing it with our own eyes. Yeah. We don't need the double explanation. I thank you, filmmakers, for realizing that we're smart enough to understand your movie.
That was wonderfully done.
Yeah,
it was because you could see that, like, they're like, and like, because it was a direct transition. They're like, I can't quite explain it. Immediately transitions back inside the Void.
Right.
Yeah, and you're just like, yep, this is them explaining it. They're just showing it to you.
Yep. Devin.
This is more of a what if scenario. Do you think like, because with the way that the Void was spreading, we saw it like coming off of the island and spreading, past the river. Do you think like Kate Bishop or like Spider-Man or like any other characters got put into the Void?
I'm sure.
I suppose we'll find out.
Think that, yeah, do you think that gets referenced at all, like moving forward?
I hope, man. That'd be really cool. That'd be really cool if one of them mentioned that.
Or dude, even Daredevil.
Moon Knight. Yeah, Daredevil, the Fisk. Freaking and I mean, even Moon Knight is in New York, because at the end of the season he's back in New York,
right,
too. So like,
I thought he was in London. I thought he left off in London.
Did they leave off in London? Because it wasn't
yeah, because Jake picked up.
He was in a left. He was in a left driving vehicle. He was in a left side driving vehicle. London's right side driving. He was in a left side because he rolled down the window and then shot.
It's been a while since we've seen it, so
yeah, I might have to rewatch that, because didn't he pick up the like main antagonist character in the limo or whatever.
I'm gonna look this up.
Oh, maybe.
Or if it was
Yeah.
a
Well,
cab.
I
It
mean,
was a cab.
either way,
Yeah,
we'll find out how it was. I
yeah.
think too. A thing that we kind of like skimmed across here. John Walker's memory thing he gets sort of like near the beginning of this movie when Bob first touches him. Can we just, for a quick beat, talk about how that moment alone I feel was so pivotal in us sort of buying into these characters, regardless of them
Mhm.
being bad guys, because that scene of him sort of like defunctedly not understanding how that like his obsession with his outward portrayal to the world cost him his family. And then they mention it later in the movie how they say like, yeah, you lost your wife and kid, and I know that sucks, but you did that to yourself, right? Was such a brilliant way for us to like be okay with US Agent being in this and actually feeling all right with his character after all the terrible shit he did in Falcon of the Winter Soldier. Xander.
So the one thing that I actually really appreciated about that, and one thing too, I will say Wyatt Russell has been a favorite of mine ever since him showing up in Black Mirror. For me personally, that was the first thing
Good
I saw him
episode.
in.
Good episode.
And I've been trying to follow him almost religiously since then. But one thing I really enjoyed about his whole arc was like, so you see this past image, like obviously we kind of gather that when Bob would make physical contact with Yelena at one point, and then with John, they relive their most regretful, their most shameful moments in their life.
Right.
And you can see that he's aware of what he did at this point in his life. He's aware of what he did, what was wrong, but it kind of just like shows like, fuck, that's very real. How many times in your life have you been just so wrapped up in yourself and you just like so just like you like nothing else matters. You're all wrapped up in this, and you don't not even realize you're being a fucking dick to those around you. And it's like, oh fuck yeah, I was a real shithead back then, and like, but like from then on, no one else really knows about this. And he goes on to say, like, or even when they were down in the incinerator room, they were like, he's like, listen, I have a wife and kid, like they wouldn't just dispose of me, that whole thing, and like
Yeah, just in
I
denial
really
about his
like because
actions.
well, not necessarily denial. Like he was keeping them from realizing what was going on. Like he's like they don't need to know that I actually lost my wife and kid and stuff like that. They don't need to know that. And then later on, when Bucky mentions that, there's this moment where Yelena looks back at him
And
and
he's
he's just
just like and
he
that's a beautiful moment because when they all have that sort of like pissing like grief Olympics when they're leaving the facility, and like Ghost is like, oh well, I got like studied on or whatever, and Elena's like, oh well, I was an assassin for the Red Room, and like they were all kind of having this like pissing contest. He didn't. He actually talked himself up, right? And so having that
Mhm.
reflected in this moment where he looks over at Yelena and is like, yeah, I don't
He's
think
got
I'm perfect
nothing.
either. Like I got nothing for you, dude. Like it was a really, I think the way they handled John Walker in this movie is perfect. Like I really
Yeah.
have never liked this character more than this movie. And even when he was the bad guy in Falcon and Winter Soldier, I still kind of had some feelings because I'm like, dude, like I get it. Like he wants so badly to be this thing, and he sort of has this
Right.
Mhm.
Shoes to
expectation
fill.
and these boots to fill, if you will, to sort of be this new version of Captain America. And it's easy to feel obsessed with that and want that so badly because you have served your country and done so many things that like this was your moment to shine, and he floundered it doing what he did. They did a really good job on
Mhm.
handling that, dude. Let's
Yeah.
go ahead and continue on here. So Black Widow's in within Bob's subconscious, and kind of confront Bob's abuse that he suffered from his father, and then they are soon joined by the Thunderbolts in that perfect transition to them coming in, and together they travel back to the memory of Bob's initial experimentation in Malaysia, in that same laboratory that Yelena had destroyed. The Thunderbolts confront the Void, who has one of the fucking coolest villain moments in this, where he kind of just walks around that table and is looking at them in that like cool silhouette form with his head tilted and shit. And the they have to take him on now, and as a struggle sort of threatens to like completely consume Bob, that the void is like kind of baited him into falling into what the void is. The group suddenly then realizes, no, this is what the void wants, and Yelena is able to break free for a moment, enough that she's able to do some cool flippy flips to try to stop Bob. And Yelena's, struggle to kind of convince Bob to let off has released the rest of the group, in which they have this moment of Bob having, oh my god, man, like this moment almost fucking cracked me, because I don't know if you guys remember seeing Lewis Pullman's face in this moment and having, oh fuck me, I'm getting emotional, sorry, all of them sort of hugging him in this moment of grief and frustration, and an inability to sort of like control himself. God damn, what a fucking beautiful moment, man. What a beautiful fucking moment in Marvel, dude.
Especially harkening back to like the things that play, like Bob's trauma like physically comes out in some of the things that he says. And they're things that if you've been through that level of trauma, like, and you've had like an abusive parent, like some of his identity was pushed on him by his abuse from his father. Like literally there's a scene where it's just like before they go back to his first experimentation, and he's just like, Bob the hero, always making things worse. And then a few scenes like previously in the act, basically every time Bob tries to help, he feels like he fucks it up, and he tells himself, I always just make things worse, right? Like he's still not healed from his childhood trauma, and it affects him every day in his adult life. And like he doesn't feel like he has control. And like just prior to that moment, like, can we talk about how insane of a villain that the Void really is? The Void has all of the same powers that the Sentry has.
Yeah.
All of them. Superhuman strength, superhuman stamina, the ability to move his molecules ahead in time, all of that shit. And he never swung a single punch.
Yeah.
The Void didn't even fight back against Bob. It didn't even take damage from Bob, who was still the Sentry when he was in that internal struggle. Like they are on par with one another. They're direct. They are quite literally yin and yang, and it shows like that they one cannot exist without the other. And you might be able to stop me, but you cannot remove me.
Right. Xander, your hand was up.
Well, one thing that I wanted to bring up, then to your guys' point, how Garrick mentions like anything you may know about people who have dealt with trauma their whole life. What's one thing, and based on our talks about mental health, surrounding mental health and stuff, like, what's one thing that you would always say if someone's asking you if you're doing okay? I'm fine.
Right. As
early as like the first 30 minutes of the film, he says that like they just get out of the shoot.
Yeah, I'm fine.
There's been some bickering and stuff like that. It's been kind of high stress, and Yelena comes up to Bob and says, "Hey, how are you doing? Are you okay?" "I'm fine." And he's like, "Really?" And he's just like, I'm. It kind of gives like this like I'm used to it, like that kind of whole thing. Like I was like, fuck,
this
dude.
shit felt real. Everything about his character felt very real, very human.
I think it's a testament to how well Lewis Pullman played this role, because like the more that I thought about it as the movie was sort of progressing, the more you start to realize like his nuance and like his physical acting as Bob was so representative of someone suffering deeply that you could even see it in his eyes. And I don't mean Void's eyes, I mean his eyes, the character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there was this sort of like level, like physical being of just an internal sadness that his character had throughout the course of this movie that only went away when he was with his friends. And that was like such a fucking beautiful way of them handling this, and Lewis Pullman like acting this character out. God damn, dude, what a fucking movie, man.
I don't know who these friends are, but your light inside is brighter.
Yeah, Devin.
Yeah.
I can relate with that so much, and I love that they themed this movie on loneliness for
And
for
found
people.
family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because that's important. It's important.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, let's finish this off so I can give you guys my top level.
Yeah, sure. So the solidarity of the group empowers Bob to regain control and overcoming the void as light and normalcy then are returned to the city of New York. The threat is neutralized, and the Thunderbolts prepare to apprehend Dave Fontaine at this moment where she's kind of backed into a corner with her tail tucked between her legs. However, we come to find out she has actually manipulated the public perception by staging a press conference in which she rebrands the Thunderbolts as the New Avengers. And we get a couple of post-credit scenes here, a mid-credit and a post-credit. Mid-credit of Red Guardian, Alexi in a grocery store looking at a Wheaties box, trying to show.
Well, and don't forget with the announcement of New Avengers 2, we literally got like the sticker pull. Like they literally like grabbed the asterisk off Thunderbolts and we're just like, just kidding, these guys are actually the New Avengers.
Yeah, like when the moment
So
when
you
you
can-
realize what the asterisk was there for the entire fucking time. Yeah, good fucking move on their part. But then the post-credit scene being what, 16 months later, or was it 14? It was
14 months
later.
14.
And they have now taken over the Avengers Tower as the new Avengers Tower, if you will.
New Avengers logo.
Yeah, with the new Avengers logo, with new Avengers sponsors on Red Guardian's entire outfit. He has one for everybody. All of which what?
All of those sponsors that you see on Alexi's racing jacket, by the way, all of those in real life have had some sort of promotional tie-in with the Thunderbolts.
Yeah, fucking hilarious, dude.
Tide, Barbasol, all those. Like,
Devin, do you need this before the big reveal or?
No, this is after. That thing is after the big reveal. But I do want to say I do think Bucky is Revolution, because looking at his outfit, it's the black and red, and that's Revolution's color scheme.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think he is Revolution.
I think he's definitely. I think I don't think we've got the official monocle reveal, but I think on his next big screen moment, we'll get him as
Doomsday.
Revolution.
Like someone
And
calling
yeah,
him-
probably. And Sean Walker changed his hat.
Dude, the hat, dude.
I like the beret.
I like the hat.
I liked it.
the hat.
I like the beret.
So fucking good.
It looks great on him. I think that's a very good look for US Agent. They come in, they do a hey, we got something going on in space sort of thing. They look out the window and or not out the window. They look onto a monitor and they see that it's right there. It's right there. They look at a computer monitor and see a spaceship and quoting, "Wow, that's a good looking spaceship." As it sort of turns to reveal the Fantastic Four logo, they are kind of giving us what we got. Now, I mentioned on the review, unfortunately, it was spoiled to me that's what was going to happen because they showed that the Fantastic Four theme plays in this movie, and I was like, when the fuck did that play in the movie? Well, post-credit scene. So yeah, cool. We're here at the end of the movie. We have a couple minutes left that we can kind of burn through here. Devin, I know you are champing at the bit here to talk about it. So what are your thoughts as we kind of proceed from this movie into Fantastic Four?
Okay. So
I know he loves doing these predictions, right?
all right. So first of all, I knew that the resolution of this movie was going to be exactly what it was. They were going to find a way for, Sentry to, fight himself.
He has to win himself. Yeah, the internal struggle is always his deal.
Yeah. It wasn't about the resolution of the movie. It was about how we got there.
Mhm.
Now we're going to talk about getting somewhere. Okay. So I think Victor Von Doom is on the ship, on the Fantastic Four ship. I think he's going to be on it. I think he's going to be in the movie, not like a lot, but in the movie. And since we don't have a Beyonder that has been shown yet, I think Sentry is going to be somehow persuaded or corrupted or power stolen by Doom himself for Doomsday.
Mm. Okay.
Yep.
It's an interesting take. I don't.
Yep.
Because I saw this as a moment for them to obviously finally have the Fantastic Four in this Earth, right?
Oh,
Whereas-
100%. I mean, that's what's
uh,
going to happen. But like, I think Sentry is going to be a source of power for Victor Von Doom in one way or another. I think that's the route that the MCU is going to go, because why do we get Sentry introduced all of a sudden right before Doomsday? Because that end credit scene is going to transition right into Doomsday, not into the Fantastic Four movie.
I
because
think he is going to play a pivotal role for sure. I don't know if he'll be on either side, because the nature of the Sentry being as like one of the most busted ass characters in Marvel, he's, make no mistake, after this film, his on-screen time and his power usage is probably going to be fairly limited.
That's why I'm saying I think Doom is going to steal his power. I think that's what's going to happen.
Xander, your hand was up.
I was gonna say, to me, sorry about hitting the microphone. To me, I see this more as, I think this is coming at the end of Fantastic Four, where ultimately they're going to have to leave their universe. Because from what we've seen so far with Fantastic Four, we know that Reed has been working on some sort of extra dimensional transportation of sorts on his chalkboard. So I think ultimately they're going to fail at saving their universe, and the only way to survive is to take the Fantastic, technically five, because they're gonna have Franklin with them, and they're going to flee to the 616 universe. But in doing so, from what we know about character or people from other universes spending too long in other universes, this is what may cause an incursion on the 616 universe, with an already imploding whatever numerical universe designation you want to give their universe.
Sure. Devin.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think Victor Von Doom is going to be with them when they go to this universe. Fantastic Four is going to be there, but I think Victor Von Doom is going to be with them. And I think Galactus is going to be a universal threat, not just like per each, like a multiversal threat. Like he's not just in one universe, like he's an overarching being. And I think he's going to,
I don't know,
he's going to, well, let me finish this. I think he's going to chase them through it because he wants Franklin.
I feel like that would be, I feel like that might be too much going into it, because if we are looking at Doctor Doom essentially becoming the Thanos of this next run, like ultimately, because we already know that Secret Wars is right around the corner as well. Doctor Doom is supposed to be the primary antagonist. I feel like that would be way too much going on with both Galactus and Doom for film purposes.
I think Doom will get the power of Sentry and then take out Galactus.
Okay. Well, I mean, so
and that'll cause the Doomsday, right? Because then he'll be able to absorb the power of Galactus too. And then because think about God Emperor Doom. How does one become a god? We don't have a Beyonder. Are they just going to introduce the Beyonder for like, half a movie?
Right.
I don't think they're going to do that.
But I feel like
I don't think
Sentry and the Beyonder
Beyonder-
fill two completely different sets of
I know.
shoes, like,
But the MCU changes things all the time. I don't think we're going to get
right,
a Beyonder.
but to see how they've adapted the storylines for, say, the Thunderbolts, and how very well written and close to source material that they do actually stay, even though there are a liberal amount of changes, they're changes in a way that makes sense, to where I feel like they wouldn't necessarily go as far as to say like, okay, we're just going to go ahead and completely scrap the idea of the I mean, I feel like they probably wouldn't even utilize the Beyonder at all, really, because I think they could kind of like condense the focus to, instead of the Beyonder being involved in this, you could have Loki involved in this.
Well,
Which we know he's going to.
personally, I think because a couple of things. Sentry already, just based off the post-credit scene, the storyline with him is different. With him being in the new Avengers comparatively to the comics, because in the comics he turns himself into the Raft before the new Avengers ever is actually able to like come to formation, and there he actually escapes when he has this like crash out when Matt Murdock and Foggy go to like talk to him, and he escapes the Raft as the Void because he's convinced himself that he's killed his own wife. And so there's a whole like different storyline that they're already changing here. So I don't know. I can't attest to like what I think they'll do with Sentry because it's already very different as it is. I think based off of what was shown in the leaked concept art and what kind of some conversations have been around like Doctor Doom's presence in not just Fantastic Four, but in Doomsday and the future Avengers film after that. I think that they're effectively just going to replace the Beyonder with Doctor Doom. I think that there is because the concept art sort of showed them in this like medieval sort of type setting that is sort of going to be playing into this sort of version of Battle World that's going to be more of like a Coliseum based ordeal, that Doctor Doom is the person who's sort of pulling the strings, and that might end up being how Doctor Doom gets pulled into the stuff. I could be completely wrong, but like that's kind of what it speaks to me on like what they plan on doing with that stuff.
Yeah,
Devin, last
I
thoughts
generally
here.
think that
I think that's going to be at Secret Wars point is when all that concept art, and not even all of that will be shown, but I think that's going to be more Secret Wars than it is Doomsday for all that stuff that got leaked. Because we have to get there, right? Beyonder is not the reason why everything happens. The reason why everything happens is because Doom takes the Beyonder's powers, right?
Right.
That's how he becomes God Emperor Doom. So, yeah, I would say the three main factors, the three characters that we have introduced between everything is going to be Loki, Sentry, and Galactus. And I feel like those are going to be the three main factors circulating around how this all happens. But I almost am leaning towards Sentry, because why introduce him at all right now?
I mean, it could be for a number of different reasons. Xander,
Yeah.
final thoughts.
So the reason they're introducing Sentry is I think Sentry admittedly will be like a Hail Mary when we reach our like all is lost moment with Doomsday. I think that's why Sentry's here, because all else has failed. We have no other options. We need to let loose the Sentry, even though it may also come with the Void. It is a risk we're willing to take, and I think that's why he's here. And also, I now that I'm thinking about it, I think you might be combining the two Secret Wars stories, because I think the original Secret Wars involved the Beyonder, but the new one, the Jonathan Hickman run, involves Doctor Doom absorbing the powers of Molecule Man to become God Emperor
Oh,
Doom.
yeah.
Yeah. Garrick, any final thoughts, sir?
I dislike entertaining rumors.
I like it, sir. All right, sounds good. Guys, thank you for joining us for our very first technical spoiler cast, and we hope you guys enjoy. Like to try to serve our subscribers the best that we possibly can. This will not be the last of our exclusive content for you guys, so this is fun. I'm glad that we got to do this. This is a great conversation. Definitely went a little bit. I told you guys it was going to be longer than 45 minutes. I fucking knew it, dude. Like, we love Marvel too fucking much to let this be be any shorter than the usual hour. But we are cool with here. And anyways, we're gonna get on going with our weekends, and we hope you guys enjoy. And until next time, be good to each other.